Well, good morning. It's Radio Free Decipher again. This is Carol Wisely from Norfolk, Virginia. No biggie news today. For those of you who are just listening for the news, you're going to have to wait for that. But hopefully lots of interesting discussion. I've managed to drag Chuck Kallenbach away from the development department and get him for a half an hour or so of gossip about what's going on with Star Wars at the moment.
Good morning. I hope it has a little more substance than gossip, but yeah.
Okay, well, that's a female talking.
Oh, I understand.
All right, in-depth strategic discussion about what's going on with the Star Wars customizable card game at the moment. That's what we're here to talk about.
Okay.
So I'm going to be feeding Chuck some questions. As marketing, I keep a close eye on the feedback that's going on, and I'm forever bugging these guys about, tell me why these people are saying this, tell me why people are talking about that. So what's everybody talking about at the moment, Chuck?
Well, I think the last furor was over the errata that we issued for Hidden Base, which I know that a lot of people on the mailing list felt that it wasn't necessary. And a lot of the high-level players could make decks that would be Hidden Base. But I think that a lot of new players or mid-level players were finding that it was pretty overwhelming. And that creates what we call, it's kind of a catchphrase around here, but it's a negative playing experience. And if we have a deck that, like the old Dagobah decks, that just is really not fun to play against, that's one of our prime concerns, because we want everybody to have a good time at tournaments and casual play. So if we have a deck that just really isn't any fun to play against, we're concerned about that.
Now, just for the beginners who might be listening, or the Star Trek guys who sort of step over the fence and listen to the Star Wars stuff, just take us back and explain Hidden Base.
Well, Hidden Base was designed to simulate just a line in the movie that said that there was another base on Dantooine that was destroyed. So we wanted to let the players explore that storyline a little bit. And the idea was that you would play a space deck with a lot of systems, and one of them would be a hidden base that the other guy would have to search for. Well, that was the idea. And when the card came out, it really wasn't being played that way. There were a couple of abusive ways to make a deck that was pretty close to a lockdown deck, which is something we always try to avoid because it's definitely a negative playing experience. So we were surprised by that. I have to put in a good word for the playtesters because that's how I got here, being a playtester, and they work very hard, and it's just a little hard now with over 1,200 cards to catch everything. So we constantly revise our playtesting system. My email playtester list now has 27 people on it. So and there are a lot of people that I think that names that you guys would recognize, very highly ranked players. So we hope that we ramp that up a bit, and we don't want this kind of thing to happen again.
So tell me, from a player, because I know you've been a player for a long time of many CCGs, what's it like to face a lockdown deck?
Well, it's just... Basically, it would be I would have a deck that means that you can't play. That's pretty much the way it works. There's decks like this in many other games, and I think that it seems to me that every company tries to stop that if they can, or slow it down anyway, because it's just no fun for the other player. I mean, yeah, I can make a deck that wins and prevents you from activating force and prevents you from deploying anything, but that also means you're just not playing and not having any fun at all, and that's just not what we're looking for.
And does this kind of thing ever happen in Star Trek? I know the two systems are very, very different.
I think the difference in Star Trek is that it's so much of a race that they had trouble with assigned mission specialists with one-turn wins, which is that's the ultimate expression of the other guy doesn't get to play because he didn't even get a turn. So speed was a big factor there. And that's similar. That's why we use negative playing experience, because it just means you're not having any fun. It doesn't mean you don't get to play the whole game. Sometimes you do, but you just don't get to do anything.
Right. So your real aim as designers and the playtesters is to create strategies that are balanced. Would you say that? Sure.
We want strategies that certainly are strong. We want to make cards that are strong. The objectives are obviously designed to be new deck types that would do well in the current environment, but obviously they can't be too strong. And when that happens, it's a very fine line we walk between ooh, that's a really neat card, I can make a great deck with that. And just the other side of that line is, I can prevent the other player from playing, which is not good.
So now that you've issued the errata on Hidden Base, are you hearing feedback that the playing environment has changed dramatically?
Well, we're hearing that. I even saw a letter from a guy who said he had played the bad Hidden Base, the ground Hidden Base, which just flipped the objective in the first turn, and he'd won like 9 games with that. But he was very happy, even though he played that. He was very happy to see that people were playing it now with space decks the way it was supposed to be played. And when you hear something like that from somebody who can't use his winning deck anymore. Our players are very good about not wanting to play cheesy decks, and we really appreciate that.
Now tell me a little bit more about the objectives, because that was a new card type introduced in Special Edition. Were you involved in the design of that?
Yeah, pretty much. We tried many crazy ideas for objectives. People wouldn't believe the kind of things that we tried before we ended up with this. But that's where we got ideas like the back of Hidden Base says you must use a force to draw a card, and I think Realtir Op says you use 2 force to get any cards you want out of your deck. These are really powerful payoffs. So as a result, we had to make sure that you had to do a lot of things on the front side to get to flip. So it was designed to be a new deck type, a new card type, and it was difficult to balance it to give what we call a flip incentive. We didn't want anybody to use just the first side of the objective without flipping it. And then once you flipped it, you had to get a big payoff.
And does it flip back? I mean, I haven't played to that level. I'm still at the sort of Premiere and New Hope level with Star Wars.
Well, yeah, some of them do flip back, and that creates interactive situations because I play my objective and I flip it, and I get a big advantage over you. But then at the bottom of it says flip when, and that means that you can take some kind of action to flip it back over and negate that objective. And we tried to make that work for just about every deck.
Now, which is your favorite of the objectives?
I think probably my favorite is ISB operations, because we used a sneaky little thread that worked pretty well with about a dozen or so characters that we'd already produced over the years, and made them all very important. And now we're making more of those too, of course. So there'll be more ISB agents in the future.
Oh, cool. In Endor, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a sneak peek, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about when you first started playing Star Wars. Were you there from the very beginning?
Yeah, I was there. I got a playtest copy. It was marked alpha or beta or something, and I started giving feedback to Sandy and the rest of the people on the design team before the game came out. It was like February before the game came out, I think.
Oh, that's a while ago. So that's back in '95.
Yep, that's right. It was before there was attrition, before there was force drain. The game was very different then. So
I heard a little bit about those days. I wasn't here then, but I knew some of the playtesters as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Gray has been a friend of mine for a long time, and he was a playtester in this. So I can remember him telling me the story of attrition and how it came to be. And it's a great concept. A little tricky to explain to beginners because I have to teach this game, but once you understand it, I think it's really one of the great features of the game.
Yeah, well, it definitely helps.
Now, tell me if you play both games, you play Star Trek as well. What do you like about the two games?
Well, I like there's a strong playing aspect, I think, to Star Trek. My general manner of play is pretty much seat of the pants. Try to get lots of rare cards out there and hope I can get myself out of whatever bad situation I get in. But that doesn't always work in Star Trek because you really have to plan ahead. And the seeing of dilemmas and things, and there's lots of things to remember in Star Trek. It seems to be more of a head game to me, whereas in Star Wars you can just kind of throw stuff out there and beat stuff up. And I like both those things.
Yeah. Somebody told me that Star Trek, it's all index construction. The champion level playing Star Trek, you have to know how to build the decks.
That's what it looked like to me at the Worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying not that in Star Wars too, but I've seen people pull themselves out of bad situations by clever use of the cards that they've got in their deck, even if they're not quite the right cards that should be there. Now, your entire family plays, I believe.
Oh yeah, we do.
And do you each have different favorites, or? I
think that we pretty much. We were into Star Trek at the very beginning, too. We had a playtest copy of that, so we played both of them over the years.
And your wife's a big collector, I know that.
Very much so. That's why I don't collect, because she has everything I need to look at, so I don't have to collect. That's what she told me.
Chuck, I also want to talk about the errata policy. PD control the errata policy here. Marketing, we just communicate it and make sure that the whole world knows about it as quickly as possible. So just explain to me how you guys decide when a card has to be errated and how you go about it and the other methods that you use to keep the game under control.
Well, first of all, to sum up our errata policy very shortly, we hate it. Our players hate it when we do it, and we hate to do it, but there are times when something becomes a problem, we get feedback from the guys on the road, the rebel leaders, and the mailing list and bulletin board and letters and all kinds of things. And usually marketing communicates to us if there's a problem with a given deck or card. So we start evaluating what is the problem and what can we do to fix it. Can we fix it with a fixer card in the next expansion? Can we fix it with a clarification or some kind of ruling? Or is it going to have to be the big E word? And we do hate doing errata, and we also try very hard to keep the card in the environment as much as possible. So I think people are still playing hidden base out there, and that's what we wanted. We don't want to, if we errata a card so much that it becomes so of limited utility that nobody uses it, that's pretty much the same as banning, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep the card in the environment. You've already bought the card. We want you to be able to use it. And it's a very tough line to walk between changing a card so that it's now still a strong card and just not as strong as it used to be, but and making sure that none of those creative players out there can drive a loophole through our errata and still make it into some kind of broken deck and negative playing experience. So I guess the only thing worse than errata is errataing the errata. That's right. We've never done that, and I certainly don't want to do that, and that would be really bad. So I know people say they'll start posting and saying this deck is a problem. I hated it. I played it. I didn't have any fun. And like it'll be 3 weeks or 4 weeks before we even start talking about it. Well, we have to evaluate the situation. We have to consider all the possible changes that we can make. And again, like I said, it's tough to keep the card in the environment. So this is the reason why it takes so long. And I know people say, well, I played this deck this weekend, I didn't like it. And 3 weeks later, we issue an errata and we change 2 words. And everybody says, well, I could have done that 3 weeks ago. Well, we have to evaluate everything really carefully. And that's really why it takes so long, because we do a lot of evaluation and in-house testing, and we get more and more feedback from the rebel leaders and the people on the outside. So that's why we do it the way we do it. Well, I think it contributes to a dynamic environment as well. I mean, that's the thing that I think. I know that people have one bad experience and they want instant action. It's the way of the world these days. That's right. We want to be able to fix things straight away, but I think we have a good policy. I like the no banned card policy. Mm-hmm. Although people still keep telling me there is one banned card in Star Trek, and I always forget which one it is. Raise the stakes. Yeah, because it takes a card out of the other guy's deck for keeps. Yeah, so it's back in the old days when Ante was a thing in CCGs before everybody woke up to the fact that it was really dumb. Not a good idea. That's right. So one day we'll do something about raise the stakes and bring it back into the fold. I know that. We've tried that. We really would like to fix that, yeah. Yeah, but... I know that other companies do ban cards, and certainly that's the easiest way to fix the problem quickly, but we really feel like we want to keep the card alive in the environment, and we're just taking a different tack there, so... Well, talking about banned cards, we're just about to move into 2 tournament promotions where we're actually determining the cards that you can and can't use. I mean, this has been called Decipher's Type 2, and I'm always quick to point out this is just a temporary thing. We wanted to give people the experience of enjoying a different environment for a while, and I must admit, with way over those 2 promotions combined, we've got way over 300 odd events already posted on our website, so I think it's going to be fairly popular, else I don't think people would have jumped onto it quite so quickly. I think so too. So we have Bespin and Beyond coming up for Star Wars, and Return to Farpoint coming up for Star Trek. Now, you're more of a Wars boy than a Trek boy, so tell me, if you were out there in the field getting ready for this Bespin and Beyond, what would you be... What kind of decks would you be putting together now? Well, I really like Cloud City, and I brought a Cloud City deck up here with me last year when that was my tournament level deck, and it was all clouds and cloud cars and Quebec and draining at the clouds and all that kind of stuff, and that was my light side deck, and I love playing it, and it always got beat around here, so that didn't make me feel too good. But in a limited environment, I think that's going to do really well, so I'm excited about that. Do you still play in tournaments locally? I haven't for a while, but I certainly would like to if I had more time. I know that some of the guys up here go out every now and again, Marcus in particular. Yep. Now, do you ever play Star Trek competitively? I have, yeah. My rating's much better in Star Trek than it is in Star Wars, in fact. So you would, if you entered Return to Farpoint and you built a deck for the very first one, would it be Federation or Klingon or Romulan? Oh, it would just be a big, dumb, big blue deck, because that's what I've always played from the very beginning. And like I said, it would have lots of powerful rare cards with lots of red dots to get me through all kinds of problems. That's my philosophy. Cool. Well, I think we're just about out of time, Chuck. I'm glad we've had this opportunity to have a chat about some of these subjects. I was going to talk today a little bit about the feedback following our announcement yesterday and some of the plans for the future of the classic Star Wars, but we really don't have time today. So we'll probably save that for next week, give you all a week to talk about it. I know that the announcement was vague. I've already had emails from people saying that's a long story to say absolutely nothing,
But as I said in the story, I tell you what I know. If I don't know it, I can't tell you it. But I just wanted you to know there's no way that Star Wars is coming to an end with Death Star 2. The classic Star Wars, we have a long way to go with both our games.
Yep.
So we'll talk more about that next week, and hopefully some plans for the future of Star Trek, or some things that's going on with Star Trek at the moment. We scooped everybody last week by saying Blaze of Glory would probably be the title of the next Star Trek expansion, and I'm pleased to say that Paramount have now approved that. So Blaze of Glory it is, and we'll be announcing that on the website. And look forward to seeing you all, talking to you all next week.